Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. It is your girl, Ashley Johnson. Wow. Okay. So, hello, everybody. It is Ashley Johnson, formerly known as Miss Johnson, former teacher, current creative. Okay. And forever curious about what happens after the classroom. Welcome to episode 1. We here, y'all. It is time. It is time for it. It is time to get this thing started. So why school's out? Why am I asking you to listen to and partake in this podcast? I am asking you to do this because it is for former teachers, anybody who is transitioning from one thing to another, anybody who had to let go of something that they loved so much in order to find themselves. If any of that resonated with you, this podcast is for you. Now, I want to start at the beginning, my beginning at least. I became Miss Johnson way back. Let me see. I can't really give y'all a, well, I guess I could. I could give you a year. 2015 was the year that I became Miss Johnson. That was the year. I was working at a private school as both the registrar and a counselor. They didn't have any kind of counseling in that sector or in that school at all. So I took on the counseling role because my background is in social work. So that was work that I always wanted to do, and I saw myself kind of transitioning into that counseling piece because I've always cared more about the social emotional piece rather than the education piece. A lesson plan, girl, you can take that and shove it. I don't care nothing about, when I say I don't care anything about a lesson plan, to this day, don't care nothing about a lesson plan. Could care less about a lesson plan. I do not care. But I care about how you feel, how you're doing. I care about how you're getting along. I care about how you feel, if you feel safe or not in this space. I want to know that. That I want to get to the deep stuff. And that's just me as a person, girl. Can't stand small talk. Can't stand nothing that don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? So heart work has always been my vibe. Always been my vibe. And that's exactly what teaching is. It is hard work. They always like to tell you that they don't pay a lot, that you don't get paid being a teacher. They tell you the same thing about social work, to be clear. This is not some, if you're trying to get rich, this ain't the thing for you. And the thing is, I could argue that whole route just ain't the way to get rich. It's a scam, but that is a whole nother, that's a whole nother topic. So I'm gonna save that for later. But I do have to say that it is hard work, and you have to find, you're even encouraged to find your why. Often, anytime you go to a professional development, anytime anybody is doing anything to try to further you along in your career, they're often trying to point you back to that. Why did you begin in the first place? Why did you start? Find that student that makes it all worthwhile. And y'all, I found a student everywhere I went. I was that girl everywhere I went. My style of teaching was that of, fun, okay, relatable, realness. Come on. I was giving realness, always giving realness. Um, but the students could relate to me so well. And I think it was because I was young. I was a baby teaching them babies. You know what I'm saying? I was working in high schools and elementary schools and middle schools all as a 20 something, tender 20 something year old. And I remember teaching high school at like age 25, 26. I was in my 20s, and my kids kept trying to figure out, girl, how old are you? You look like us. It was like a wonder, that they could have a teacher so cool. um, And that's not, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I mean, I'm telling y'all, I was Miss Johnson for a long time. And so I have stories for days and days and days. Even when I was about to start this podcast, a couple of students reached out telling me how much they miss me, telling me how many good memories they have with Miss Johnson, and also telling me that I will forever be Miss Johnson to them. And I love that because they tried to call me Ashley during the school year. And it gave, no ma'am, don't play with me. But I learned so much about myself being a teacher. But what's ironic is that the lessons came later. I spent time and effort into pouring into these children, no matter what the position was, and if there was something extra that I could do to be helpful, I was going to do that. Let me tell you something. When I taught 12th grade, and I could never forget this. When I taught 12th grade, it was insane. I not only taught history, actually, I started off teaching English. Then they moved me to history. So I was teaching 12th grade history, government. And then they had me working with the choir because they didn't quite trust the choir director to get the job done. So they needed more hands on deck. So they asked me to do that. And then I also facilitated the after school program for the kids who had some catching up to do with their work and efforts to graduate. Y'all, everything they had me doing, they paid me for. It was a beautiful school year. Okay. I was making money, girl, but I was also running myself ragged, girl. And the thing is, like, it's beautiful when people can compensate you for the work that you're being asked to do. But being a teacher is already going above and beyond. You understand? I put work in from 7 to 3 and then from 3 to 5 every single day. That was my routine. And I had multiple jobs to cover during those time periods. And I had got it done. Did that and got it done, and had great relationships with students, great relationships with staff. You're not gonna win them all, so I'm gonna be honest. It won't all, sunshine and rainbows, but it was just such a beautiful, beautiful experience. But let me give y'all the real tea. I did not pay attention to myself during all of those years of me being of service to the school system and to the kids of the school system. I neglected myself often and over again. I also witnessed my fellow staff members doing the exact same thing. You understand? It's deep when you can recognize the impact that you're having in the moment, in real time. It's so deep when you can recognize, like, hey, I might need to take a walk. I might need to take a beat. I'm not talking to the kids as nice as I could be talking to the kid. I'm irritated today. I don't know, but you don't have a lot of people who are able to check themselves in real time like that. And so what you have is a bunch of projecting going on throughout the day. A lot of throwing things at each other throughout the day, just that don't even belong. You know what I'm saying? Where we're throwing them, but because we can't deal with them and we can't see it for ourselves, we start taking it out on the outside of us. And it's insane how I've watched that dynamic be at play time and time again, no matter what school I was at, no matter who the teacher of the year was, no matter who the principal was. These people needed help. I was gonna say Jesus, but the lack of self-awareness of a teacher, I think that's a whole episode in itself. And that's something that I really do want to get into. Like, how mindful are we being, really? How mindful are we? Just so many things, so many dynamics. But yes, I got into teaching by way of private school right as I finished college back in 2014. And I have been a teacher, a choir director, a coordinator, an event planner, an after school facilitator. I have been it all at various spaces, in various spaces. in all levels of schooling at that. But the last 4 years of my teaching and educating career was spent being a contractor to the schools, and I was able to do what I wanted to do, with the working with the social emotional learning piece. I was able to deal with students and their feelings and their coping skills and their emotions, and naming and identifying emotions and being able to kind of talk and work through our problems. It was a beautiful, beautiful job. And I loved it. And I loved being Miss Johnson. And I love the way I dressed. And I loved the way that I dressed was even a barrier breaker for some parents. They would come up to me and tell me how much they liked my outfit and how nice I looked, or just, oh, I love your glasses today. I love your hat today. I love your shoes today. It was always just a way for somebody to kind of break the ice with conversing with me on a regular basis. So, the teacher fits, I do have to say, they work if you do it right. You know what I'm saying? They'll serve the purpose that you're needing to serve in that connection piece. If you do it right, so I was able to work with the social emotional learning of it all, and I was able to connect with students and families alike to get a lot done. And at some point, my why started to feel like it was dwindling away. I was looking around, physically, actually looking around for the student that was making me come to work every day. And y'all, when I couldn't find the student, I said, oh, when I say I was gagged, because that's never happened to me before. A decade in the game, and I'm right at the end of that decade, like, now where is that student? That's the reason that I'm here today, because I wasn't able to place that student, and I was like, something's wrong. Something is not right. But what I do have to say is, on the outside of education, on the other side of education, I have been able to really practice mindfulness. I know better now what mindfulness is than I knew at the time. Y'all, let me tell you something. It's almost as if sometimes being in the physical building of the school causes something to revert in your mind. It is almost as if you're back in high school or middle school or elementary school all over again. The way that these kids are handling each other and the way that you're seeing these conflicts play out in front of you, it's the same way that some of these adults are talking to each other and handling conflict. And it's a scary, scary thing. It's like, whoa, now for all the children, who's the adults here? Where's the point me to the nearest adult expeditiously, because it's rough up in here right now, and I'm not really fully understanding what's happening. And that was happening way too often. Down to the fact that I was eating foods that I do not eat, y'all. I ordered Chick-fil-A every single day. I don't eat Chick-fil-A. I don't eat Chick-fil-A, but I ordered it every single day. Can we unpack that? Being in that environment where something is the norm, people ordering food because that is just the norm. You can't leave. You know what I'm saying? You have to be there early as I don't know what. Sometimes the sun ain't even fully up before you having to smile and greet children and make them feel like, hey, we're all happy to be here, and nobody feels like that right now, and so I followed suit. I started placing my order for a little food, and because who has breakfast? Who has a good breakfast, a good quick breakfast? Nobody. But Chick-fil-A did. And so that's why I kept ordering Chick-fil-A. Child, when my birthday came, my coworkers all rallied together and got me like a $50 gift card to Chick-fil-A. That $50 gift card blessed me so much. I was like, oh my God, y'all have collected this much money for me, but y'all put it on a Chick-fil-A card. Girl, I didn't even use it because it was like my birthday. The way my birthday came, it was like the end of it. Anyway, not important. But I was eating foods that I do not eat. I was saying things that I do not say. I was feeling ways that are not typical of me to feel. It was just the environment was starting to feel so absolutely toxic that I don't know that another school would have done it for me. I done knocked the stuff out now, child. I don't know that another school would have done it for me if I would have went to a different school. I'm not sure that it's really. I'm not sure that it's really given that. I don't think that that's the case. I want to talk more about how I left, why I left, and how I left. But just know that burnout was a huge part of it, and mindfulness was becoming my friend. And because of those things, it was hard for me to pretend anymore like I was okay in that space. It was just very hard for me to pretend. And so I was wearing my heart on my sleeve, you know. I was taking walks and breaks and getting fresh air and sitting out on the playground and doing some work sometimes because I had to do something to take care of myself. I was feeling way too overwhelmed. So I know I've said a lot, but at the end of the day, I started this podcast to talk about life on the other side of education, not just the career change, okay, but the identity shift that comes with changing a career that you've had for so long, the grief that comes with letting go of a career that you've had for so long, the relief that you feel, the confusion of it all, and the joy, even in the pain. You know, I want to talk about all of it. And it's not just going to be me talking. I'm going to pull other former educators on here and they're going to share their stories too. It's going to get real. It's going to get deep. It's going to get funny. We going to give a little tea. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to establish community and a safe space. So if you feel seen by absolutely anything that was said on today's episode, I know I was a little all over the place, y'all. Bear with the girl, okay? But if anything made you feel seen today, then I'm so happy that you're here. And share this podcast with somebody who you feel like needs to hear this content or maybe interested in this content. Coming up, we're going to be talking about the grief of it all, the identity shifts, calling after the classroom. What are the people up to now? What am I up to now? I didn't even tell y'all. I told y'all where I started, how I started, haven't even began to get into what I'm doing now. So I can't wait to talk to y'all soon. Y'all stay locked. It's the Schools Out podcast with me, formerly known as Miss Johnson, but you can call me Ashley. I love y'all and I can't wait to see y'all again. Next episode, we're going to have a little guest. Won't tell you who it is yet, but can't wait to hear more stories, more experiences from other former teachers. So y'all keep it locked. Follow me at Schools Out the Podcast on Instagram. Okay. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.